Different sort of video this week, everybody. Instead of Dungeon Master tips, what I'm going to be talking about is my favorite bits of crafted terrain. I didn't have time to write out a long, heady, philosophical Dungeon Master video because I'm spending all of my time working on the book, which is so close to being finished. But more on that later. And with light finally at the end of the tunnel, I suspect a lot of folks are really itching to play D&D again in person. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to really showcase one of my favorite parts of the non-digital hobby, crafting terrain. Crafting miniature terrain is a whole hobby of its own, and there's lots and lots of YouTubers, great YouTubers, who have channels dedicated to just that. And I'm going to be linking a lot of those videos. But this video is just a list of my personal favorites, the 10 things that I've crafted that I like the most, or that I think are best. And what I mean by that is, I went ahead and ranked all of my stuff, and I put it in different categories. 20 points for how useful it is, how often you're actually going to use it at the table. 10 points for the coolness, which is just the wow factor, how much it makes your players smile when you bust it out and actually put it on the table. And then out of 10 points for ease of crafting, how much time it actually took to make this thing. I am a speed crafter. I'm not like Black Magic Crafts, who takes incredible precision and care making all their minis. I want to bust this stuff out as quickly as possible. As long as it looks good from 6 feet away, I'm happy with it. I didn't want to recommend a craft that was going to be a huge pain to make. And I also eliminated the super obvious stuff. Things like doors, trees, rock scatter terrain, stuff that I think everybody already knows they need in some form. Generally, these are more specialty items. So without further ado, let's get into the list. Number 10 is torches. These are Q-tips that are painted and stuck on a base, and I absolutely love them. They're a really easy craft invented by DM Scotty, and I like them for a couple of reasons. Not only is it a super fast and easy craft, but it does a whole lot to really bring about a sense of immersion. When you put a torch on the table, you're sort of reminding the players that they're living in a pre-industrial society. Torches are also an easy way to add a little bit of tactical depth to your minis and terrain. It makes it really clear where a source of light is and what might be in the darkness. Characters can light their arrows on fire, they can grab the torch and try to burn other things down. And it's a really easy bit of decorative flair that's not going to take up a whole lot of space actually on the table. Because they're so small, you can drop them on without making things look cluttered. Number 9 is this rope bridge, which I absolutely love. I got this idea from V Muse over at the Crafty Muse. Go check out her channel. Bridges are ideal for adding some tactical tension into your combats through the terrain. They create natural choke points in areas of danger. And what I really like about this piece, rather than having a solid plank for a bridge, this lets the players know that they, or their enemies, can cut the rope and send everyone crashing down. The one that I actually made is probably a bit too long. It doesn't hold up weight in the middle, so it kind of sags. But I also wanted to make it long enough that you couldn't just dash across it in a single turn. I wanted the characters to get stuck on it if they had a movement speed of 30 feet. So I probably should have used thicker wire to actually craft this next time. Number 8 on the list is cages. I've made like 3 or 4 of these. For some reason, mine keep getting destroyed, which is okay because they're really easy to make. Just a few strips of cardboard and shoving some toothpicks through will make a really cool area to keep prisoners in. And it's also been known to serve as a dice jail. Cages are no doubt areas of interest. They can have the vulnerable prisoner inside, the monster waiting to be unleashed by the baddies. And unlike having something behind a closed door in a bricked room, you can see the potential drama about to unfold. It could create a really cool element of anticipation in your combat. Number 7 is terrain tiles made out of 1-inch foam core. Now these are not necessarily an easy craft to make. You can watch a Black Magic's craft channel. I do it exactly like he does, with the hot wire cutter, the Mod Podge and black paint, crushing up with the rock for texture. It's not a quick craft to do, but the results are outstanding. You can use it to create elevation on your battlefield. It can be the battlefield itself and everything else is negative, like a water or lava or falling into the void. You can build cavern systems out of them. Overall, they're just incredibly useful and so cool looking, I had to include them. Something I did to increase the utility of each of these is I made them two-sided. So only one side of them has the traditional gray rock. The rest of the backs are either painted like a tan desert rock or a blue icy color. Coming in at number 6 is the craft that's probably gonna give you the most bang for your buck. It's these 1-inch altar lights. These things are $2 for $1 at the dollar store. You slap some gray paint on them and your players go nuts. They love it. Every time you say, and they light up, the players go, wow, even though it's pre-made for you. But in all seriousness, they do look really cool at the table, and the fact that they can turn on and off, you can play some tactical games with too. In my last campaign, I had a couple of combats where if all 3 lights turned on, a portal to another dimension would open and demons would pour out. So you can do things like that. At number 5, we have another DM Scotty craft, trees with platforms. Anytime you want to do like an elf ambush or a crouching tiger hidden dragon scene or have a fight in the treetops, it just became really easy for all of your fights in your jungle to have 3 dimensions to them. These things have a telescoping base and the platforms are kind of tricky to get right, so it's not exactly the easiest craft to make, but if you make these, every time you have a fight in a wooded area, you're going to want to use them. Number 4 is the half-scale walls. This particular construction is of my own invention, although the style is definitely of DM Scotty's Tilescape system. Unlike traditional walls, which are an inch or 2 high, these only go up halfway to the mini, so they don't block your vision. You can actually see into the dungeon. These took a long time to make, and as you can see, the end craftsmanship still isn't perfect, but I honestly wish I spent more time on them because I use them so often. It makes it super easy to block out dungeons, and it looks really cool when you do it. I absolutely love the scaling, and it would make me incredibly happy if more people had these. Number 3 is my fire and ice board. Now, originally this was a craft I made specifically for a one-shot, but I've discovered it's so cool, I will find ways to use it. So sadly for my players, a lot more times they're gonna find a lava flow or be transported to hell, or find a cavern covered with impossibly slick ice. Moreover, my last home campaign was played in the Northlands, which is, fantasy Viking land. So I used the icy side for all the outdoor combat encounters. It was a constant reminder to the players where they were in the world. Something else I really like about this is I marked out the grids in 3-inch increments. So it's not visually busy with a 1-inch grid, but it's still really easy to move your minis around and know how far you've traveled. Number 2 is my favorite set of dungeon tiles, and I've sampled a lot of them. I have 3x3 1-inch foam core tiles. I have 4x4 half-inch foam core tiles. I have sheet tiles. I have tiles made out of cardboard, tiles made out of crafting foam. So let me tell you, out of all of that, DM Scotty's cork tile boards are the best. This is a craft that has a lot of steps to it, and it's kind of time consuming, although not particularly difficult, but the end results are fantastic. They still have weight and friction to them so they don't slide around on the table unlike cardboard tiles, but they're not so bulky that they're difficult to transport and store like insulation foam is. Using the stamping method found in DM Scotty's video, it's possible to get way cooler textures and patterns than you get on normal dungeon tiles. Corkboard's a lot easier to work with and cut than insulation foam, but the end product is just as sturdy. I don't know. Like I said, I've sampled them all, and these ones are my favorite, so I recommend them for you. And combined with the walls I mentioned earlier, this Tilescape system is by far the easiest, most flexible way to run dungeons that I've found. For 20 bucks and 4 hours of your time, your dungeon setup is going to look as good as anybody else's. So my number one favorite bit of terrain are these massive rock formations. These are of my own design, and they are surprisingly easy to make. They're just a strip of cardboard glued around the edge of another piece of cardboard that's cut out in an odd shape, gluing on some paper towels and then painting it gray. It's the cheapest way to add lots of cool elevation terrain, and because of the scale of these crafts, it's a lot easier to create really dynamic mountainside combats, valleys, and caverns with them. These rock formations easily top the list. They are incredibly useful. It's rare that I have a session without using one of these in some form. And because they look so cool and give lots of awesome options for your combat, they're really, really fun to have at your table. The players love them. If right now all you have is a battle mat and you're ready to get into some crafting, these are things I'd recommend you start with right away. Yeah, that's it. That is the video, folks. Like I said, short and sweet and to the point. I've been working really, really hard on the book, but I didn't want everyone out there in YouTube land to think I forgot about them. Plus the algorithm hates it if you don't upload. The 10th and final playtest packet for Galder's Gazetteer is in the description. It has 5 archetypes that we're just trying to work the final kinks out of. So please fill that out and be on standby because the book is going to be released really soon. And hopefully as soon as that's done, I can get back to our regularly scheduled programs. So in the meantime, make sure to do the things, like, subscribe, and as always, let me know what you think of these terrains in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and put pictures of my favorite non-useful crafts on my Patreon. So if you like this video, check that out too.